Love, I don't like to see so much pain, so much wasted, and this moment keeps slipping away. I get so tired, working so hard for our survival. I look to the time with you to keep me awake and alive. And all my instincts, they return. And the grand facade so soon will burn. Without a noise, without my pride, I reach out from the inside. In your eyes, the light, the heat, in your eyes, I am complete. In your eyes, I see the doorway to 1,000 churches. Your eyes, the resolution of all the fruitless searches. Oh, I see the light in your eyes. I wanna touch the light, the heat I see in your eyes. When you hear the name, the Virgin Mary, what does that do to you? Are you affected in any way, or no, not at all? Is it a hoax of a name because being a virgin and bearing a child, whether or not the child of God, is just impossible? Or is it in no way a joking manner for you, but rather the name of the most special woman ever sent to the earth? I personally have a very thick Catholic background, a family history. But even after attending Catholic school for my first year of high school, and also having many practicing Catholics in my huge extended family, the Great Mother Mary has never been in the foreground for me until I read this book by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. This is her wonderful book called Untie the Strong Woman. And the subtitle or title within that is Blessed Mother's Immaculate Love for the Wild Soul. Now, I can't say I'm a Catholic after reading this book or anything, although an original definition of the word Catholic means all-embracing. And I certainly strive to be as open-minded as I can, but you don't have to be a Catholic or even a Christian to love this book. Now, if you are thinking while watching, well, this show is a little Christian for my tastes, I'm of another religion, and this stuff isn't true, or, I'm an atheist or an agnostic. What, is the loser's advocate a Bible thumper now? Think again. This book is a metaphor, an exemplar of pure love without judgment. It doesn't matter if you're straight or gay or lesbian or an ex-con, a thief, a non-believer, had an abortion. The primary principle here is love. Giving love, healing hurt hearts, and guidance and encouragement of true, righteous individual destiny, which I think all religions have as their foundation anyhow. After reading this book, I've certainly become close to the Great Mother, and as a result, more receptive to and enamored by God and the creation mystery. I'm moved to be a better person than I have been. And I think there's been, and perhaps continues to be, a lot of time wasted in the name of my own self-interest and narcissism, just plain narcissism, if I'm gonna say, rather than true self-love, wild self-love, and exotic compassion for others. Exotic, not erotic. I saved that for a select one or two, hopefully one, for my boyfriend's sake. But ponder that, exotic compassion for others. Exotic. Therefore, through this first episode and remaining episodes on Mother Mary, I'd like to do what this book is doing for me and so many others and quote Clarissa Pinkola's goal in her writing of the book, because it's similar to my goal. By this work, I hope to make Mary more visible to those who have not yet seen her. And if you have never seen her, that includes you. I want to help mend a little those who have been shamed for asserting that she not only exists, but she is central to their being, which may or may not show in public in obvious ways. This work was written to let others who have yet unnamed yearnings for the holy know that they are on the right path. I hope to reintroduce her to those who have wandered away, and that any soul who longs toward her, dreams toward her, know that they are surrounded by fellow travelers who do not believe she walks with us. No. From our bones outward, we know her and experience her up front and cheek to cheek. I hope, as Pinkola states, that these words will awaken any unused corner of your heart, any portion of you that perhaps feels friendless, because we all have bits of ourselves, tiny bits or big bits, that we aren't friendly to. That others don't seem to gravitate to and or accept or love about us. If anything, Blessed Mother is the ultimate friend to those bits. She's the ultimate friend to those of us who feel friendless. When I read this book, I hadn't done my research on Mother Mary or on Jesus or the Bible, nor was I a true prayer. Of course, when I needed something, I'd go to God and somehow get in with Him, asking for forgiveness for having not prayed since the last time I wanted something and prayed. But I didn't always feel a true sense of closeness. And I think part of that was being a girl, being a woman. God is assumed to be a man, and Jesus is certainly presented as a man. So when I started going to Mary with my troubles, I felt, holy Lord, Mary knows. She knows what I'm talking about. She's a woman. Not only did she give birth, but she was surrounded by a lot of men and manly things. She sacrificed her life giving love and acceptance and was totally wrapped up in another destiny, the destiny of her son. People rejected her and ridiculed her. She probably didn't have a bikini body either, nor did she care. It probably wasn't totally relevant there in the desert anyways. But she wasn't wrapped up as some people are in what people thought of her, physically or mentally. She was so very gentle, but so very fierce. A fiercely caring mother and a fierce believer. Mary knows what I'm talking about when I go to her with my passions and my problems. As the story goes, an angel came to Mary suddenly one day and said, "You've never made love in your life. You haven't made love to your fiancé, Joseph, or any other man, but you are indeed pregnant with Jesus, the Son of God, who will save all of mankind. You are to be married to God, or rather the Holy Spirit, but your earthly husband will be Joseph. Okay, Mary? Is that okay? Mary was so fierce in her beliefs and so gentle towards God that she said, okay, as God wishes. And her whole life was about raising her son to be who he became. The one and only, all-embracing, loving, forgiving, eternal individual living in that little red pulsating entity we call our heart. All women and men, whether actual mothers or fathers or not, have a child or children, a project, other children, a husband, wife, partner, lovers, loved ones, passions, and destinies that they are fierce about, yet they have gentleness towards. So for me, it's become easier and more natural to go to Mary. And not always for my own selfish interests, but also for the welfare of those that I care about. She's the intermediary now between God and me, and even Jesus and me. I've never felt scared to go to Jesus, really. But, I am somewhat God-fearing, but I've never felt scared to go to Jesus. But when I'm in a bitchy mood or having my period, or I feel plagued by my consumerism and the fact that I spend too much money on jewelry and clothes and makeup and skinny jeans and all that, I just don't feel like Jesus would cut me as much slack as Mary. I feel that Mary really walks the line between heaven and earth and is on the same page as her son in terms of sacrifice and compassion, but she's just that much easier to talk to. And I know that Jesus doesn't mind. As Jesus is dying on the cross, he says, "Behold your mother." He looks down at his apostle John and says, "Behold your mother." Mary was meant to be the mother of human beings. Each and every one of us who are sinners. Sinners. That's what I love about this book. Pinkola Estes' definition of sinner may have you loving yourself a hell of a lot more, or even wanting to become, a pastor or a priest yourself, because it's lovely. It wouldn't have you sitting on the altar, as a preacher or religious figure, knowing deep down how bad you really are yourself, yet looking down on everyone in the congregation for being such sorrowful sinners. Now, sin, Pinkola says, is actually anything that takes a person away from the radiant principles at the center of the soul. Without those at center, she says, we lose our radar about how to proceed in a world that is tricky, because things are not always as they seem on the surface. Not being perfected beings, we fall into this off-center state. By our own will, perhaps, but more often having been naively persuaded or seduced away from infinite love and into something much more falsified, something that crookedly seats us in something far less eternal in fundament and much more ego-narrowed and clever.